So let's look at the question on CVP analysis. We'll look at this question. I'll read the question. Question number 4. Mayo Clothings has planned to produce Ankara jean in a new factory. First on a single shift, 6 months later, it will be on double shift will be introduced. Then later, a treble shift will become operational. The production costs and selling prices per unit are as follows. So we are given the production costs per week, the production that's in quantity per week, and the selling prices per unit, variable cost per unit, fixed cost per week. So what it means is that the fixed cost is usually in total. So this financial record is for a week. So you are now asked that as the managing director, you are required to produce the following information. 1, the break-even units per week for each shift. 2, what is the total unit cost for each shift at break-even and full capacity? What is the profit stroke loss for each shift at 50% capacity? The 50% capacity is now 750, 2000, 3250 units as specified by the examiner. So you are not expected to change this. So if you look at the full capacity for single shift, you have 1.5. Of course, 50% of it is supposed to be 750. Then you look at the double shift. The double shift, the highest value here is 2500. Number of units, which is number of units produced, is 2500, which is the highest. So but they are saying half of it should be 2000. That 50% covers 2000. So you work with what the examiner is giving you. And for treble C, we say it's 3250 units. So we have to solve this question. If you have not gone through the understanding of the CVP analysis, the introduction aspects, you can go to other previous videos. You can see it's labeled CVP 1, 2, and so on. So we'll look at this. We'll look at this question and provide solutions to it. First of all, you have to calculate what is your break-even in units, your break-even unit per week. And that is how many units will you sell each week, such that you will make no loss, no profits. That's what the question is asking you about. So we go to solving. You can always come back, rewind the video to look at the question again. So we have the single shift, let me use this a little more then that is not too harsh, this is too big. Sorry, let me look at a pen that will work better. Okay, I think I got the right one to use. Sorry, I had to edit. Oh, sorry, this so we have single, okay. Okay. Let's look at single shift. Let's take this out of here, place this on space. Single shift, double, and treble. So we're expected to compute. The first question says that we should compute the break-even units per week. So the break-even, for you to calculate break-even, remember our break-even point in units says fixed cost divided by your contribution margin. Now we'll do some workings to get what our fixed cost and contribution margin are. Let's do workings here. Fixed cost and contribution margin. So for the single, double, treble, so you are expected to your book, take your book to one, go to another page and show you do your workings. So to calculate our calculate our contribution margin. Contribution margin is selling price minus variable cost per unit. What's the selling price in the question for single, double, and so selling price is 55 naira each. So if you are using dollar currency, you can just change currency, that's all. The same principle applies. What's your variable cost per unit? We're giving single is 3, 3.2, 3.5. So the difference here gives us our contribution margin. This is 2, 1.8, 1.5. So we'll bring in this into the solution. Fixed cost in the question is already given. So this is your break-even formula, says fixed cost divided by contribution margin. So your fixed cost as given in the question is, here is 2000 divided by the contribution margin of 2. Here the fixed cost is for double is 2520 divided by contribution margin of 1.8, as I've shown the calculation. Then treble 3030 is the fixed cost divided by 1.5. Therefore, you now have your break-even point in units. That's the number of units for you to break even. If I divide this, my solution is 1000 units. 1000 units. 1400 units. And 2000. Okay, no, 2020. I think that's the correct answer. 3030 divided by 1.5 should give me 2020 2020 units. So this is our break-even point in units. The next question, this is number 1, Roman figure I. Roman figure 1. Next one is Roman figure 2. We go to, it says we should compute what is your total unit cost for each shift. Total unit cost. So it's like saying total cost per unit. Total cost. Your total cost is made up of your fixed cost plus variable cost. Remember. But this time around, we are looking for cost for 1 unit. So you are talking about total cost per unit. So it's like dividing this fixed cost per unit plus variable cost per unit. Of course, variable cost per unit is given already in the question, so we are left to calculate the fixed cost per unit. So for under single, double, treble, your total fixed cost we are given as the fixed cost is given as for single fixed cost is 2,000 for single shift, 2,000 to 520 and 3,030. These are the fixed costs. So remember, the question is saying what is the total unit cost for each shift at break even. So what is the break even unit? Break even unit. Remember the workings we did already? The break even units are already given here, which is for single, this is the break even unit, 1,000 units, double 1,400 units. This, so we can even do the working straight here. There's no point even separating it. So let's say total cost per unit. Let's write like this: total cost per unit at break even. So single for single shift, double shift, and the treble shift. So what is the break even unit? As calculated is 1,000. Here is 1,400. As we calculated earlier, their break even unit is 2020. So what will be fixed cost per unit? Remember, for you to get total cost, it is made up of fixed cost per unit, and the variable cost per unit. Variable cost already per unit is given in the question, so you don't need to solve. So what our concern will be fixed cost per unit. So which means total fixed cost divided by the number of units. This time around they say it's at break even, so we are using the break even units. At break even, fixed cost per unit will be, let's cover this as the unit is different from. So remember, this one will be 1,000 naira. The fixed cost is from the question. The fixed cost, we are told, if you open the check the question, fixed cost for single is 2,000. So it will be 2,000 divided by number of units of 1,000. Will give us our fixed cost per unit. That should give us 2. And this, I'll do the workings here. The fixed cost here is 2,520. 2,520 divided by number of units 1,400. That will give us 1.8. And here we have fixed cost is 30 divided by the number of units here is 20. That's the break-even units, which will give us 1.5. So this is our fixed cost per unit. Then the variable cost per unit, which already given in the question, you don't need to calculate it, just lift it. Or variable costs, we have 3 for single, 3.2 and 3.5. So if you add them, that will give us our total cost per unit. Total cost per unit, or total unit cost. That's the same as total cost per unit. It's also 58255. So that answers the second part of the question. We can now look into the third part of the question, which is what is the profit stroke loss for each shift? What is the profit stroke loss for each shift at 50% capacity? So profit, this is number 3. Figure 3, profit stroke loss at 50% capacity. At 50% capacity. So what is their 50% capacity? That is the number of units. If you are 50%, the examiner gave us what to use for single, double, and treble. Already said it's 750, like specified in the question. It should be 750, 2000, and 3250. This is units. So we have to calculate the profit to loss. So to calculate your profits, it's just like saying your sales minus your variable costs. Remember, for you to calculate profit, you are just saying sales minus cost. But remember, this can be broken down, cost can be broken down further to say sales minus variable costs minus fixed costs equals to profit. But also note when preparing your income statement, you have sales less variable costs. This is if you want to prepare an income statement now. Sales minus variable costs, you have what you call contribution. Then deduct fixed costs. You have your profits. So instead of we going through all this route, we can start from this contribution. Contribution alone is made up of contribution for 1 unit, which is called contribution margin times quantity. Then we let fixed cost is shorter instead of starting all the way. So that's what I'm going to do. So we have what is the contribution margin here. Contribution margin. We've already calculated contribution margin when doing the break-even. Here we already have contribution margin. This is the contribution margin for each of the shifts. So we can use the contribution margin. Contribution margin as stated 2, 1.8 and 1.5. So 2, no, let's use the black. 2, 1.8, 1.5. That will give us, if I multiply contribution margin by the units, we should have our contribution. So if we multiply 2 times 750, you have 1.5. 1.8 times 2,600. 1.5 times 3,250. You have 4,875. Now let's deduct fixed costs. Less fixed costs. Fixed costs we've already known is 2,000 to 520 as also written in the question. 30. This is a loss of 500,000, 500 naira. Then here, the difference between 3600 and 2520 should give us 1080 profit. And finally, 1845. So this is our profits stroke loss. So this is this end of the question. We'll look at another question again. So the major thing is you need to know your income statements, which is as simple as this. This income statement is very important. Your sales is made up of selling price times quantity. Variable cost, which is same thing as saying total variable cost, is made up of variable cost for 1 unit times number of units, which is presented also by Q. Just know this income statement because everything plays around this in CVP analysis, in your cost volume profit analysis. So we'll look at another question. Probably in the next, we'll look at another question just to address more, solve more questions on CVP analysis. Thanks. Thank you.